Everybody, it's me again. I'm the company's expert, and welcome to Honest HR Nitrous. This is the twice weekly show, sometimes more than twice weekly, where we talk about hiring, careers, networking, getting a job applications, all that stuff. And we do it from the point of view of the reality of how stuff actually works, as opposed to the theory of perhaps how it should work, because there is quite a disconnect when it comes to this stuff. The title of the episode today is How to Handle Job Search Stress and Rejection. This is, I think, a topic that's quite near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. If you are looking for a job right now, rejection and stress is a major part of it, and it's something that you can't ignore. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. However, just a shout out as usual to my YouTube channel members, my Patreons, my super thanks donors, and to my participants. I see there are 17 people here. Thank you for being here. Get in the chat. This is an interactive live stream. I do not have anything really to say. I'll maybe comment to kick us off on the title about job search stress and rejection, but beyond that, I'm just relying on your questions and comments to respond to and react to. And if you have questions or things you're wondering about, something you're struggling with, ask me, and I'll do my best to help you out. Okay. So yeah, how to handle job search stress and rejection. I remember making a list many years ago because I had a lot of days where they were really bad, incredible amount of psychological stress, dealing with nasty people, dealing with people trying to bully you, dealing with all kinds of stuff. And this is like on the job. And in my earlier days, also, I was looking for jobs, and I was between jobs, and it was very stressful. And like everyone else, I was rejected quite a lot. And I remember putting this list together, and for this episode, I unearthed that list, and I wrote it down here. I got some notes here, my original list from like 20 years ago or something. And this is what I'm just going to say this. This is what I did. So you come home and you're just to the point where you're shaking almost of dealing with stress. These are the things that help me feel better. Okay, so put on a sweater or a jacket or something like that to make you feel warm, because if you feel warm, you on some level you tend to feel a little bit better. Having a bath or a shower or something like that can help, especially if it's warm. Forcing yourself to watch a TV show or a movie or something that you like, that, it's like a comedy or something, that's something that you like. It's probably the furthest thing from what you feel like doing in the moment. Where you got black clouds over you, and it's the last thing you feel like doing, but if you force yourself to do it, you start to feel a little better. It can help. If you live in a house or an apartment or wherever you live, your home, turn up the heat if you can sometimes help. Have some good food. I wasn't like the same physique I am now. I was actually pretty trim back in the day, in a kind of hard to believe type way. But have some good food, and that can help too. And, if you force yourself to do this stuff, it can help a little bit. You will not feel 100% that day, no matter what you do, but you'll at least feel a little bit better, and then have a good night's sleep. And then after, you wake up in the morning, you'll feel even better. You'll be more normal in the next day. That's what I found. It's very tough going through this stuff, just on a psychological level. I see Val Xing, if I'm saying that correctly, says PhD with 20 years of experience, been searching since May 2023, very dejected, female, 58 years old. I'll take any suggestion. Well, okay, there's sort of two parts to this. The first part is kind of the psychological side of it. Like, what can you do about stress? Because you got to take care of your mental health. It's a real thing, and anyone who's been to kind of these dark places before, you know what I'm talking about. The other element is, from a practical point of view, what can you do to change what's going on, to actually get hired or find a new job opportunity? That's kind of a whole separate discussion. Now, today, at least the topic was, we're going to talk more about the psychological side, because that's something I don't usually talk about. In terms of what to do, I will just briefly say there are many different ways of getting a job. I reduce it to two camps. One is the sort of, the standard way, which is responding to job postings with the job application, right? And then you go through the HR organization, you're dealing with recruiters and doing job interviews and that kind of stuff. Alternatively, there's a sort of networking route, and there's a lot of different specific things in the networking route, but it's a little more homespun, it's a little bit more organic. There's no standard procedure. You do whatever you feel like doing, you talk to anyone you feel like talking to, and you say anything you want. And so therefore, there's a lot of different ways of finding out about job opportunities and putting yourself forward for them. Whenever I talk about that in public, there's always a sort of segment of the public that is ideologically opposed to that for some reason. They either claim that it doesn't exist, which it does, or they equate it with things like nepotism and favoritism, which it isn't. So, I'm just tired of having those discussions with people. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been getting jobs through networking for a very long time, and I've been doing contract work, and I'm a consultant. So I've gotten all my consulting clients through networking. So, the hidden job market is real, and the way to tap it is through networking. So I don't want to necessarily get into too deep of a discussion of that today, but you work both, right? And if you're an introvert, if you're like a technical type person, you will feel that you are at a natural disadvantage for the networking route, which you aren't really. You know what I mean? As long as you can talk to another person, and have it go halfway decently, an extrovert doesn't have any real advantage over you if you know what to do. The only area where introverts have a disadvantage is in their attitude. A lot of introverts, first of all, devalue networking. They think that people talking to each other is a waste of time. And you couldn't be further from the truth. If you think of what a business is, and you probably work for a business, unless you work for a charity or for the government, you're working for a business. And how does a business make money? It makes money by connecting with other people. Most importantly, customers, right? If you can't reach customers and can communicate with them and convince them to do anything, you're not going to be in business very long, right? It's all based on connections between people, right? And the more connections the business has, the more customers they can reach, the more partners they can develop, the more suppliers and other sort of entities that they have relationships with, the more successful they will be, right? Now, why should that work for businesses but not for you? The reality is that the same rule applies to you. The more connected you are, the more people you know, the more you can have relationships, professional relationships with many different types of people, the more career opportunities will come your way. It's just that simple. And if you are in a situation where, like, you've just moved to a city or something and you know nobody there, that's not a problem, because you can reach out to the companies and the organizations that are near you that could use your skills. You can discover who those are, and then you can reach out to them. I've done several videos on this. If you want to see what that looks like, there's a link in the description box of this live stream to a video I've done called How Successful People Get Jobs, where I walk you through it, and you can see my screen. So check that out if you're interested. But that's kind of like the mechanics of how to get a job. Okay, so if you're just doing the same thing over and over again and it's not going anywhere fast, then try other things. Add some of these other tactics to your job search. Ongoing Pigeon 6 says, why are there so many fake job ads? I don't know if there's one overarching reason why there are, but several things coming together. One of them is scams, right? Because it's easier to scam people, especially with things like with aggregators like Indeed. Secondly, there has been a rise in this concept of using, posted jobs as a signal to stakeholders, for a company. So you want to send a message to investors or the public or your customers or your competitors that, you're growing or something. You just post a bunch of jobs, we're looking to hire a manager for this new department that we're setting up. You know what I mean? It's a fake job. It's not a real job, but it tends to communicate that, it seems like we're growing, right? That's one of the signals that we're growing. There's been a rise in that. I mean, it's really stupid. These things are self-defeating. They're only really for companies that are like publicly traded and, they have a stock price that they're trying to push up. For companies that are not publicly traded, it doesn't make any sense to do that. So I don't know why. There just is a lot of fake jobs. And some of it is laziness. I know that recruiters post jobs, and then if they fill a position, do they go and they take down all their notices? No, they just stay up, right? So, that's another reason why there are jobs posted, but they're not actually pursuing applicants with it, right? So there's all kinds of reasons. Those have been talked about by a lot of people, including like actual kind of see more of what's happening on the back end with that. Vao Xing says, thank you for responding. I'm looking forward to watching your other videos and reporting back. Okay, great. You're absolutely welcome. I'm very outgoing, will talk to anyone. Also in the consulting business, left academia 12 years ago. Yeah, the thing I've noticed about academia, it's interesting. It's kind of its own little bubble. I'm like a private sector guy through and through. I mean, I'm not an academic, but I went back and just did some teaching on the side that I seem to keep talking about all the time. And it was weird going back into academia, like having the last time I was there, well, I was a student, right? And now you're like a teacher. But the first thing I noticed, like, holy crap, ego, just, lots of people that, it's going to go this, you're going to do this because I say so. Like, I've never seen that displayed so arrogantly and so prominently as in academia. The way they treat students and stuff, the way they treat everybody, the way they treat the public. Big case of ego. Also, a lot of process-focused people, don't care about the results. We just care about the process. So very strange. I tend to be the opposite. The results are what matter, So that's all important. So don't let, hopefully your attitude hasn't been too conditioned to pick up the bad side of that kind of thinking, that culture. The reality is that there isn't, for example, if you do networking, now you might know, Vao Xing, there are no rules. You don't need anyone's permission to send a message to someone. You could send a message to executives, CEOs, that's how I built my consulting business. You don't need anyone's permission. Then there is no procedure for it. You're operating outside of the system. And the advantage and why it works is because you're operating outside the system. It's not a normal, typical thing, right? If you had an executive that every day they received 20 messages from people requesting an informational interview with them that they don't know, and you're one of them, it's probably not going to happen, right? But it works because these people never receive requests for informational interviews. So when they get one from you, it's kind of a curiosity. It's like, what is this? Who is this person? I don't know this person, do I? Right? So, that's why these things work. It's knowing what to say. right? That is the key thing. But that's why it works. There are no rules. Nobody can tell you, oh, you can't talk to that person. They're so far above you. It's like, what? No. If you're professional, if you're very polite, you follow etiquette, you follow protocol, you make a very reasonable request, right? A lot of people say, yes, I've done this. I met so many CEOs just that I don't know just by doing this, and some of them turned into consulting work and other things too. So, you know what I mean? Val says, can you talk about age and rejection? I'm stuck on mentally feeling too old to get a job. You know what? Look, didn't you say you had a PhD? It's like, okay, some things are it's a youth game, right? If you want to get like a waitress job or something, I mean, I don't know, but I get the impression that it's all about youth. If you're a highly attractive person, then, they'll tend to hire you over a 60-year-old. You know what I mean? So there's ageism, but ageism favoring younger people, right? For senior management type stuff, there's also ageism, but the other way. I don't see a lot of 21-year-old CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. You know what I mean? You need to have a certain amount of experience and a certain amount of maturity. Those are two separate things. You get a lot of people with experience. They're old, but are they mature? Are they professional? Are they dignified? No, they're not, right? But they've been around the farm a few times. They've at least got the experience. They're not going to hire some bright kid out of school that's got a fancy degree, but has never done anything and has no accomplishments to their name. You know what I mean? So if you're older, you have an advantage for certain positions, right? You have experience, you have maturity. In those roles, it's an absolute requirement. How do you get those roles? Well, you don't get them by talking to a 21-year-old recruiter. You know what I mean? And the person who's not, the only thing I can say about ageism, because I tend to stay away from all the bias type stuff, but because it's very politically charged, but what I will say is that I don't think if you're talking to a 60-year-old that's considering hiring you for a job, like they're the hiring manager, they're not going to be biased against you if you're 60 years old, because they're 60 years old. You know what I mean? They'll see the advantages of being 60, right? And they'll be very defensive if someone tries to suggest that, oh, this person is 60. How good could they really be? They're old and frail. And, that 60-year-old is going to speak up and defend you. And they'll say, are you kidding me? Yeah, they're not dead yet. And you know what? They have a lot of experience and a lot of maturity that, you really need in this role that, let me tell you, some younger people really don't have. And that's why they fail when it comes to this type of role. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you do it. Now, go on LinkedIn, like I was saying, go on LinkedIn, go look at the employers around you, go look at some of the people running those companies. Are they 21 years old? No, they'll be like 50, 60, 70, Go talk to them. Go send them a message and say, hey, I'd love to talk. I'd love to get your expert opinion on this. And if they do have any opportunities there, right, you'll have a considerable advantage. And age will probably not be a factor. If they're 60 or 70 and you're, 60 or whatever, I think 58. So you said you were 58. So, you know what I mean? That's the one way I know of avoiding that, right? Those jobs, they tend to they tend to favor older people because they make use of what older people have, namely experience and maturity. And then in addition, if to get those jobs, you have to talk to people who are themselves a little older, you can take the ageism thing right out of it. Val says, thank you. I appreciate your encouragement. You're welcome, Val. I'm glad that helped. Just go out and start doing some of that stuff. There's definitely just because you're 58 doesn't mean there's no place for you. Quite the reverse. you know? You know, just to talk about myself for a second, because everyone loves this, you know, everyone's really interested. I'm interested in a few subjects. One of those subjects is World War II. And in World War II, the Germans fought the Russians, and the Germans, their military people were like 60, 70 years old. You know, they had a lot of experience. And the Russians, because Stalin had purged a lot of the generals in the 30s, they tended to be younger, the 40s, 50s, you know, younger. And so in many ways, the Germans run rings around the Russians in terms of like, you know, one-to-one performance, you know, because of a lot of, they just more experienced generals, they were older. They were like 15 years older on average or something like that. And that really counted, you know. In the end, obviously the Russians won. They just crushed them with numbers. But, you know, so that was one of the factors. I think that's interesting, you know. Obviously, you can still have amazing young people that totally outperform. And that's what the Russians had. That's what everyone had, you know. But just as a general rule, having that experience really was their trump card that made them so much more effective. That's an oversimplification, but that was a factor. Okay, I gotta move my microphone here. Now, I'm just gonna make sure that I don't bump it and it shuts off the signal like I did last time. Okay, I think I'm still good. Okay, Amaze says, do you think it's a red flag when a company keeps posting the same jobs? Yes, it is. I've seen the same positions being repeatedly posted, and I wonder why this happens. Once again, there's several reasons. One is that they don't know what they're doing. That can result in that. Secondly, it can be something nefarious. It's not actually a real job. You know, or thirdly, they keep hiring people and having to let them go, right? Like immediately. And then there's all kinds of other stuff. There's like scams and things. But yeah, there's several reasons why that happens. In every case, it's a red flag. It suggests that they don't know what they're doing. Now, I'm not going to say like don't apply for them. I mean, if you want to apply for them, apply for them. But just keep that in the back of your mind that it's kind of like a bit of a red flag. And also do other things. You're not looking in a very promising place when you're looking at that stuff. Okay. Bam Bam says, how to unstick myself from only the job searching. I understand that I'm simply scared to get hired. What's up that? So your problem is, so help me understand, Bam Bam. So you're applying to jobs, but you say you're scared to get hired. So you're just stuck. You feel comfortable in that process where you're just applying for jobs every day, and the thought of like ending that process and jumping onto like working for a company that's kind of scaring you or something. Help me understand. We can get into this. Give me some details. If I've got that correct, maybe I misunderstood that. Yeah, there are 30 people here. Thank you for joining me. Let me know if you are struggling with something, you are wondering something. This is entirely an interactive live Q&A type thing. So get in the chat and let me know, and I will be happy to do my best to try and help you out. Okay, Bam Bam says, yes, correct. Okay, so I would be lying to you if I said that I've never experienced that. Once I get into a certain mode, you're just comfortable with it. So I can see if you've been looking for jobs for a while, you just get comfortable with that. You understand what you have to do every day, and that feels comforting, knowing what you're going to be doing that day and knowing how it's done. That's better than waking up in the morning, realizing I have to do this today, and like not knowing how you're going to do that and how it's going to go, and you're worried it could go badly, you know. So I get it. I totally understand. As I suspect you already know, Bam Bam, you have to artificially pull yourself out of that. And one way to do it is to look at the positive, the desirable aspects of taking that job or going on interviews or whatever it is that you're kind of shying away from. Working at a job. You have to sort of think of the positives. You have to sort of make a case for that and think how awesome that will be. And then you'll be more enthusiastic about doing it and more open to doing it or going in that direction. You could tell yourself like it's been enough of this. Now we're ready to conquer a new mountain. We're ready to climb a new mountain. We're going to get a job and we're going to kick ass at that job, So it might be a matter of doing that. What's the listen, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a human being. What's the fear specifically that you have? What part of it is is the thing you're shying away from? If you could answer that might be helpful. Vao Xing says, I understand that, but I'm nervous to get back to work and find out I'm not up to date on technology. Yeah, it could be just a culture shift. When you're laid off, it's a totally different lifestyle than when you're working, right? WW says, I was laid off unexpectedly last summer, been searching online, signed up with job agencies, but they have not sent me any jobs at all. Have been applying for much lower level jobs than I had just to get a job. Planning to do volunteering just to fill in the gap in my resume. Starting to feel down and lost, but I watched your video about networking and have started to talk to a director I work with many years ago, and he will ask around internally, so thank you for your advice. Listen, if you are interested in learning that, look, get that course. Check out that course. That's where I've got all that stuff, step by step, how to do it. So, it's also there. I mean, I don't know what you call this, but there's also a kind of problem where you get a job in the beginning, you start out down here, and then you kind of progress, you get maybe a higher position, and then you get a higher position, right? So you've been here, right? And then let's say now you're between jobs, and you were in this position before, right? And maybe that was some kind of supervisor or manager type role, right? Now, if it's a manager type role, now you're starting to encounter sometimes the fuzzy sort of border between the two basic methods of getting a job. On the bottom, you've got, the official process, the standard process, where you go through recruiters, you respond to posted jobs online, you have your resume, you have your job application and cover letters and all that crap, and then you send that in and you talk to some recruiter, and then you go through all this crap about how to answer job interview questions, these stupid job interview questions that they never tire of asking, that are totally ineffective, and you play that game. And you're leaving that world and you're getting into the types of positions where usually they don't fill those jobs through that method. Instead, it's the networking route, right? Because in management, now you're making decisions, and you're not just following orders, you're actually making decisions about what's to be done, And the problem is that to hire someone that's going to be in that role, you really need to know that person, It doesn't matter if you have an MBA. It doesn't matter if you have a PhD. You could still be an idiot with very poor judgment, And I've seen all kinds. I've seen people with PhDs. I've seen people with MBAs. No offense to those people. Most of them are pretty good, but just because you've got those doesn't mean that you know what to do in every role, that you can get. So as a way of vetting those people and ensuring that you get someone who actually knows what they're doing in that role, okay, that's where you go the networking route. That's where people hire people because, I've heard of you. When I was working in this role in this company, you were my counterpart at our chief competitor. So I was very aware of what you were doing and how good you were because you were my adversary, and I know you've been around the farm for many years. I know you've been doing this many years, and I know you're good at it. And I've also met several people over the years that have worked with you, and they all have told me a bit about you, and they all say that you are pretty sharp and you know your stuff. So that convinces me that, you have what it takes for me to hire you and put you in charge of our entire, sales division or something like that, right? Because I know that your judgment on the job is good, and I like that is what matters. This goes beyond your experience. It goes beyond your education. It's like we're getting an even deeper insight into you, and we need to do that because we're not just going to put our sales division in charge of any old idiot that we don't know. Because if we get the wrong person, they can flush it right down the toilet and we will never recover. All our jobs could depend on it, So we need to be damn sure that this person, whoever we get, knows what they're doing. That's why bringing some stranger in for a job interview is not sufficient. We need to know who they are. We need to know that they're sound, and that's why they fill those positions through networking. So you might be at the point where now you don't get those jobs through the old standard method. Now you're talking to hiring managers, you're talking to executives, right? And they'll bring you in, they'll maybe give you a chance based on the fact that, yes, you've got all the qualifications and that, but they've met you, they've talked shop with you, you seem to know your stuff, you seem to be very professional, the way you look, the way you dress, the way you sound, they like you, they liked your initiative in reaching out to them. That shows that you are interested. You can't fake that. You can't manufacture that when you're in a job interview. You prove it, you demonstrate it by doing it, right? So you've just demonstrated it. So that's maybe where you are. You're right at that border, and I've been there. I know what that feels like. So be open to doing other things than just the traditional, looking online for job postings and responding with an application and talking to some idiot 21-year-old recruiter, Okay, where did I leave off here? This moved on me. Okay, a lot of people were active while I was off in my little monologue there. Vouching, I understand that, Bam Bam, I'm nervous to get back to work, not finding up to date. WW was laid off unexpectedly last summer, been searching online, signed up with job agencies. Okay, we did this. Planning to do volunteering. Yeah, okay, so that's, yeah, I was responding to that. Starting to feel down, watched your review about networking. Many years ago, he will ask around internally, so thank you for your advice. Okay. Yeah, usually that's not how that stuff works. I mean, hey, listen, it takes all kinds, and everything works some of the time. But usually, just asking people around, that usually doesn't produce much. Usually it's reaching out directly to all these different sources, like companies, basically, or individuals within companies. Sometimes you can go to more than one individual, but for most companies, it'll be like one individual. Call Me Ishmael says, are you drinking beer? No, I'm not. This is ginger ale. Canada Dry, baby. Brainwasher says, hey, Bill, I got my current position 4 years ago thanks to your channel. Okay, great. It was a good job for a while, but now higher-ups ask for more and more unreasonable deadlines, and my manager is not pushing back. Okay, well, that sucks. That's not good to hear. I'm sorry that's how it worked out there, Brainwasher. I got to stop bumping my mic. I'm paranoid now that it'll stop working like it did my earlier live stream. Bianca says, why the most companies required experience when we don't have experience and we need to start after we get any certification? It's so discouraging. Yeah, a lot of that is fake, of course. Listen, what would you do if you had 1,000, let's say it was your job to fill a position, okay? I'm giving you a job. Fill this position. We need to find some kind of technician that can repair our telephone system. Okay. And it's your job to find a person that can do that and get them hired. Okay. So you put up a job, you say telephone technician wanted, and you get inundated with 1,000 applications. Okay. Now, some of them, like you looked at, say, the first 10, and it looks like about half of them, the people applying don't have any of the requirements, right? So you can filter all those out. But then you see that a lot of people do have the requirements. You know, they're a fully qualified technician. They've got their, trade seal of, they have all the education, and they've got their licenses to work on that stuff. They also have a lot of experience, and they've written you a very eloquent cover letter. So, okay, but you still got hundreds of those, right? So what would you do? Well, you could maybe go back and say, well, we're looking for someone who has, and then you really ramp up the requirements to try and filter this down. Because after you eliminate the nuisance applicants that are totally not qualified, you've still got 500 people that applied, right? So, hey, let's see if we can get the best person possible here. So let's put in some more requirements, and let's require that they have this advanced certification. And then you'll reduce the risk that you get someone that turns out to not know anything, right? Let's require that they have 25 years experience, right? So, you don't get someone who's green and makes a bunch of rookie mistakes, right? So it's very tempting to just like tack on a bunch of crap. And then sooner or later you get to stuff that's like, they're putting in stuff that's not really a requirement. It's just sort of a nice to have, right? It's not a deal breaker if you don't have it, so it's not a requirement. But it's nice if you could find someone that had this, right? So that's what they're doing. And it's a direct response to the amount of stiff competition there is out there, right? Now, why is there stiff competition? It's because of all the jobs that are out there, the ones that are posted is only like 20% of those, right? What you're seeing, all those posted jobs, that's 20% of all the jobs there is actually out there, right? The other 80% are not posted. They're the hidden jobs, right? They exist, but they're filled before there's a need to post them publicly like that. So usually the good jobs are hidden, and the desirable jobs are hidden, right? So the only time you need to post something publicly is if you're having trouble filling it. If you don't know anyone that could do it, neither does any of your employees. They don't have a brother or friend or former coworker that could do it, right? You have to look further afield. Nor do you have any resumes on file with people that you've met in the past that were looking for jobs that are still available that could do it. So now you have to post it, and you got to promote it far and wide. And then you've got to do rounds and rounds of job interviews and background checks to filter all these people down. Very expensive, very time consuming. Managers try to avoid that. The exception is government. Government, they have to do everything by the book, and it's not about efficiency, it's about fairness and all this. But for the private sector, it's like, look, I just need a technician. This isn't rocket science. I don't want to scour the entire planet looking for the best person. I just want a technician that can fix my phones. That's all, So, if we put this up and 1,000 people apply, let's look at the first 10 and just fill this as quickly as possible, right? So that's what they're looking for. And that's why they're doing this. That's why they're putting all kinds of strange things in the requirements section of job postings, because they're being inundated with 1,000 applications, right? But if that sounds negative, the good news is you don't have to play that game. You don't have to go up against 1,000 people and try and elevate yourself above the rest of them and come out the best. You don't have to play that game. You can go around it. That's what the networking thing is. That's why it works. It's also the way to access the other 80% of jobs that are out there. Because most job seekers are all pursuing the posted jobs, and they're ignoring the hidden jobs, the 80% that are hidden. So if you start pursuing the hidden jobs, you have substantially less competition, and they tend to be the better jobs. There's exceptions to everything, but that's the general rule. Call Me Ishmael says, I'm 56, been at my company for 31 years with a pension. So 62% accrual of my pension, which is 62% of average of the highest 5 years pay. They're trying to force me out, I guess. I just want to work 6 more years. So if they force me out and I need to work 6 more years to pay generic bills, how do I pitch this to new companies? Don't say I'm only here to work out my pension. I'm only here to, 6 more years, and that's it. I'm not interested in anything beyond. I'm not interested in learning new things. I'm just here to do. Don't say anything like that. Okay. Listen to me on this one. Okay. That's the opposite of what they want to hear. That'll pretty much eliminate you. Okay. And it's also what fuels some bias against older people. Right? I know that's your situation. You don't have to change your situation. That's what you're going to do. But don't disclose that right up front. Right? That would be very bad. Does that make sense? You continue. You say, I'm okay making 80% of the current pay for another 6 years till I retire. How do I pitch this to possible hiring managers? It turns out, after all this, that you were just razzing me on the beer. Yeah, listen. They're not there to serve you, okay? Like, I know I might kind of feel like that. We all have a spotlight effect. We all think that, it's what I want that matters. Not to them. They don't care about what you're trying to do and what you need and all this kind of stuff. That's not at all on their radar. Oh, God, I'm sick. What they care about is how you can serve them, like how you can meet their goals, right? So focus on getting the job. And, if they say, are you open to learning new things? You say yes. Are you open to pay in this range? You say yes. You know what I mean? That's the attitude you got to adopt. You can't come into it with all these wants, wills, and needs, and this is what I'm trying to do, and I need this, and I need that. You know what I mean? Like, listen, everything works some of the time. Like, this is, there's all kinds of crazy things that happen, but generally speaking, you can't show that attitude through and then expect them to just help you to accomplish your goal. That's not what's going on here. You're offering to help them, and if they agree that that's the best thing for them to do, then they'll hire you, that kind of thing, right? So all that's fine, but don't ever disclose that to the employer. They're not interested in that, and it's a negative for you because it suggests that you're not interested in doing anything outside of that, right? It also could give them the impression that you are just going to be cruising till retirement. You're going to do the bare minimum so you avoid getting fired, just so you can serve your time and you can get your pension. And whether that's true or not, you certainly don't want them to think that that's maybe your motivation, right? So keep all of that under your hat, okay? If you're going to approach them, find out what is their ideal candidate, and just be that candidate. And that's how you get in and do the best you can, And even like once you're in the job, my point is once you're in the job, don't slack off and say, no, not, don't send me for training. I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to learn the new technology. I'm just comfortable doing this. Don't ever exhibit that. That's the quickest way to get yourself laid off. That's just the reality. It's just the reality. Okay. Might not fit in with what you were hoping for, but that's the deal. But it's minor. It's minor. Like, listen, call me Ishmael. So look, let's say they give you this job. Okay, You get to learn some new AI based crap, big deal, just do it, right? Hey, what does it matter? Just do it. They need you to go and do this new type of project you've never done before. You might have to talk to several people to learn how to do it. You know what? Just go through it. It's fine. It's fine. I've worked with unionized employees several times in my life, and some of them are really, really good, but some of them really aren't. And one of the reasons they weren't is because they had an attitude that is, to me, is reminiscent of some of the things you're saying. I'm not accusing you of anything. You're being honest with me, and you're saying this is what I need, and I get that. But the problem is, I remember people like telling me, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm only here to do this. Well, I don't care about that. Unless you're going to fire me, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this instead. And it's like, what? Like I'm in charge, just really, really bad and bad for the company. And that's why when the company gets a chance, it just crushes these unions, and it crushes anybody with that attitude. It's like, get the hell out of here. Listen, we don't make the rules. We don't. We're in this to make money, and the industry is changing, and everybody's got to learn AI because all our competitors are learning AI. We got to do it too. It's not my idea. We have to do it if we're going to survive. So I'm sorry, you work here, you got to learn it. You know what I mean? The alternative is to risk getting fired. So you can always take that or leave. You could always take that option, if it's a really big deal. Anyway, I'm just razzing you about the whole attitude thing. Tech programmer, why aren't hidden jobs posted? Oh, how much time do you have? Okay, for a start, you know what I said a few minutes ago about they posted a job and then they got inundated with 1,000 applications, right? Okay. And half of them, like 500 of them, were nuisance applications. They were from people that didn't have any of the requirements. They weren't qualified in any stretch of the imagination to do the job, but they applied anyway, right? So you've got to sift through that, right? Then why are people applying for the job? Well, if you respond to a posted job, usually the reason why these people, that motivated them to do this, was the money. They don't really care at all about what the job is. They just need money. They need a job, right? So that's how the vast majority of the applicants, that's why they're there. Because you're offering money, right? Now, as you and I know, that's probably less than ideal, right? If you're a hiring manager, let's say, let's make this personal. Let's say, the example I've always used is someone who's moving their home, right? So you had an apartment and you're moving to another apartment across the city, right? And it's a big apartment, you got a lot of stuff. And you can't carry all your stuff yourself. You need to hire someone to help you move. They've got to load and unload trucks. Somebody else has to provide the truck. Someone's got to drive the truck, and you're going to be doing something else. So this has all got to be done when you're not there, right? Now, who would you get to move your stuff? Would you feel comfortable putting an ad up on the internet and saying, person wanted to help move all my valuable, sentimental stuff, right? Someone who's trustworthy, someone who's friendly, someone who won't steal all my crap and head for the hills, right? Would you feel comfortable hiring a stranger and putting them in charge of that? The answer is probably no for most people, right? That's why you'll probably get a family member or a friend or someone you already know that you trust, right? You know that they won't pocket all your jewelry and all your valuables. Oh no, where did all my fancy silverware go? Oh, that must have fallen off the truck, right? You know, so that's one reason why you don't post those jobs, right? Because you need someone that you trust. Now think of like companies when they have like executive jobs or manager jobs. You're in charge of something that generates a lot of money. And you're also going to be in charge of a lot of people. And some of those people are very valuable, right? Now, if you hire someone that you don't really know, they said they had the qualifications, they seemed okay. You put them in charge. The first thing they do is they make very bad decisions. The operation starts losing money. Okay, it loses way more money than that person's salary. Okay, like millions and millions over the course of a few months, right? In lost productivity and issues, delays, things like this. Then some of the highly talented people that were working for that person, they quit because they can't stand them. Right? So that person is doing a hell of a lot of damage, right? So would you feel comfortable, like if you were the boss of the company and your job depended on like the company making money, would you feel comfortable filling that position by putting a job posting up on the internet and just saying, hey, any jackass can apply to this, and if we don't know you, that's fine, just send us a resume, I'm sure it's all accurate. And, if we ask you a few of these annoying, retarded skill testing questions, like tell me about yourself, and if you give good answers, then we'll hire you, right? Is that enough to really get the right person for that? Considering what's at stake? No. That's why they don't do it. That's one reason, okay? Another reason, and I'll just say this one briefly and then move on. But another reason, the more obvious reason, is because these jobs, first of all, you have to understand, posting a job and then getting all the applications and then sorting through the applications and then organizing multiple rounds of job interviews that a recruiter is going to be devoting many hours to, the hiring manager is going to be devoting many hours to, possibly other people are going to be involved. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of expense. Imagine like all the hours that these hiring managers and other people are like taken away from their duties to do this, right? And then we're going to be like sending out offers, and then we're going to be negotiating with them, and then we're going to be going to the HR department to draft up hiring. It's very expensive and time consuming, right? So you don't want to do that unless you have to. Now, imagine you're a hiring manager. You've been in this business for many years, and over 20 years or whatever you've been in it, you've seen a lot of people come and go. You know a lot of people in the business, right? If you need an extra person on your team, this is a good job. It's a desirable job. So the first thing you do is you think like, okay, do I know anyone? I have a job up for grabs here. Like I could put anyone in this job that I want. I'm responsible for them working out, but it could be anyone. I know some people in this business, hey, I know some people that are out of work right now that are, thinking of moving or whatever. Maybe I'll just give them a phone call and say, hey, I might have something over here. Are you interested? Remember back when we used to work together at this other thing, right? I know you know your stuff, and I need someone here that's going to do that knows their stuff. Are you interested? Come down, let's talk about it. That's the first place they're going to look. And if that person works out, and then you get the recruiters to vet them and all this, if they work out, great. You can start in a week. Simple. No rounds of job interviews, no expense trying to promote a job far and wide and then sift through everything. And I got a person that has a higher likelihood of working out than some random stranger, because I know them and I've worked with them and I know they're good, right? If I don't know anyone for the job, I think, okay, my employees, do they have friends, family, brothers, sisters, former coworkers that they recommend to me, that they've worked with, that they say, I vouch for this person, they're good, check them out, right? I know they're looking right now, they would be perfect for this, check them out. They'll go to them next. Failing that, they'll go to the HR department and say, do you have any resumes on file for people that have wanted to work here that we've already interviewed that were really good, but for whatever reason, we couldn't hire them. We had one position and 5 awesome applicants. Rather than posting a new job, let's just contact those people, see if they're still looking. Right? And only if you come up with nothing for each of those do you say, okay, fine, post the job. I'll pay for it. And then I'll sit in like 32 interviews with all these candidates because I have the time, That's another reason why they don't post them, if they can help it. So hopefully that makes sense. There's other reasons too, but that's good. I can't talk about it anymore. Oh God. The flu strikes back. Okay. Joy Rector, Above the Roses. Okay. Says, Goggins, go for a run. Okay. Hey, is that some kind of shot at my physique? Yeah, you don't want to see me run. I'd have to wear my full suit. A cummerbund and a sword. A ceremonial sword. That's how you know it's business formal, when you have to wear a ceremonial sword. You're welcome, call me Ishmael. Thank you. I was fine doing my job for 30 years and always got good reviews. I'm just unsettled. Now, I guess, I'm just unsettled with what they're pulling. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes there's a change of management. You work fine for one boss and then that person moves on or whatever, and then they replace them with some, terrible monster of a person, and, that's who you got to deal with. That's always fun. I think the first, 3 or 4 jobs in my life, that's what happened to me. You get hired by one person who's awesome, and then within a very short time of you starting the job, they're gone, and you get some real jackass now as your boss. And I remember the feeling of, I remember thinking I did not sign up for this. This was not how this was supposed to happen. They don't even like me. The first person chose me, so they believed in me, they like me. This person inherited me, and we really don't click. I think that happened the first 3 jobs or something I had in my life. That's exactly what happened. Within 3 months or something of me starting them, the original person that was so wonderful, they were gone. And then I was faced with a similar situation to what you're describing. Joseph says, hello, sir. Emphasis on the hello. Thank you for giving us advice on how to get a job. Your expertise is highly appreciated. You make sure that we do not face malnutrition while preparing for an interview. You are the best nourisher. Okay. Well, I'll take that as a positive. Thanks, Joseph. That's very nice of you to say. Tech programmer, do you think interview answers should be memorized word for word? Absolutely not. No. And I don't give answers that you memorize. Maybe a phrase or a line, possibly. But, I'm not a fan of here, just say this. And it's 2 paragraphs, Yeah, no, I don't think. What? If you can do that, isn't that just the most obvious thing that tells you the whole thing is retarded, right? It's retarded because they ask the most predictable questions a lot of time. Tell me about yourself. It's you're going to get asked that. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's people have been asking that for over 50 years, at least. To my knowledge, it's at least 50 years, pretty much almost every job interview. You know what I mean? That's the other problem with the standard process is you can hack the process so much. You can cheat, by preparing, verbatim answers for everything and remember. That's what I do on my channel. The reason I do it, where I give people guidelines for how to answer the question, is because the questions they ask are so effing stupid. Really, And for a lot of introverts, I know introverts have a problem because some of these questions, they're not asking literally what the words are saying, Tell me about yourself being the most obvious example. You know, you could rattle off your food dislikes and your favorite movies. Is that what they're wanting to hear? Like, you're literally telling them about yourself, right? But like, no. We asked this totally general question because we wanted this very specific answer. But oh no, we didn't ask you the very specific question. We asked like this totally general question, thinking you'll just intuitively pick up that we want to know about this. You know, it's retarded. I remember feeling very frustrated as a candidate when I was young, you know, going through this. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, what is this? Some kind of brain tease? Like, just tell me what you want to know and let's just get on with this, you know, instead of playing all these retarded games. You know, I feel for a lot of people, especially young people today, that have to deal with this. It's so frustrating, you know. The good news is that when you go the networking route, you don't have to deal with this kind of crap. You can just have like a natural, normal conversation with somebody. You know, you're not even talking about jobs 99% of the time. There's no job mentioned, you know. You're just there to learn. You're learning about what they do and how they do it, right? You know, most of the time. Or you've said explicitly in your outreach, like, I do this. If ever you're looking for someone who can do that, let me know. And so they respond and say, hey, you know, we might have something for you. Come on down. There's no BS, or a lot less of it, certainly, because it's not done by the HR department. It's done by a manager who's just trying to fill a position. You know, you're being open and honest about what you got. They're being open and honest about what they need. You know, it's entirely voluntary. So sorry to go off on you there, but yeah, it's so silly. Like, it just, and now we got AI thrown into the mix. So now you get to the unimaginable joy of not even talking to a real person. You can just talk to an AI, and that's your interview. And then the last thing I saw this morning before I signed on to do some live streams was there was an article on LinkedIn saying that one AI company is hiring, and they've requested in the job posting that they've said you are not allowed to use AI to apply for this position. If we find out that you've used AI in any way, you're disqualified. It's like just the irony of it. Like, they're an AI company, right? We want to assess your skills that are unassisted by technology. You know, it's just so hypocritical and stupid. Brainwasher says, do you think it's okay to follow up with email if you feel like you missed opportunity to say something in the interview and expand on it? There's nothing wrong with it. You can. I don't think it's going to be very effective, though. Listen, if you follow up with something, as a general rule, don't use email. Like, for stuff like this, of like, you know, you're trying to get a job, like something of that magnitude, follow up with voicemail. Okay? Like, get them on the phone. Now, what you could do is you could do it in the evenings when everyone's gone home, and you could just leave a voice message. Okay? You could just say something to the effect of, listen, I just, you know, my name is whatever. We met the other day. I came in for an interview. It was a pleasure to meet you. Thanks once again for bringing me in for the interview. Listen, I just wanted to clarify something. I felt that I didn't give a particularly good answer when you guys asked me about this or about the salary requirements or whatever. I just want you to know that, my position is this. My answer is this. Hopefully that helps. Listen, regardless, I appreciated you guys calling me for that. I really hope that you'll call me back for another interview, or that we will continue this process. Until then, either way, have yourself a great day. You know, goodbye. You know, something like that. You know, I think that would be a lot more effective than just a sort of email, because emails are impersonal and they're the easiest thing in the world to ignore. That's why they often are ignored. Joy Rector above the roses gets the award for having the most interesting handle today. Says, my job title listed on LinkedIn is VP level, all true and accurate. Change title to project manager, not construction Is that international work for, what's that? DOD in the States is Department of Defense, I think, right? I don't know what DOS is. Don't want to appear fake. What? So like, okay, I don't fully understand what you're saying. So it's listed on LinkedIn as VP level. Is that accurate? Is that your official title? And you're wanting to instead change it to project manager. For what purpose? Like what's the reasoning behind this? What's the goal? Are you applying for jobs that would be more favorable to you having project manager experience or something? I would have thought that if you were working as a VP, you would keep it as VP and then get another VP level job, So if you could maybe give me some background to this, we could talk about it. What's DOS? I'm not in the US, if that's a US thing. So let me know. Well, we've got to the end of the chat. There's 31 people here. If you are lost and you don't know kind of what to do, how to get a job or any of that, you're wondering if you're doing the right things, check out that course. If you are looking to climb the ladder and get a higher level job, possibly the middle manager or executive level, especially executive level, that's all my communication skills that I'd recommend that you tack on when you're going for those roles to be considered for those roles. You kind of need them. So check that out. If you're just wanting to learn business, if you're wanting to learn, you're wanting to have either an in-depth knowledge of business and understanding of it, or you're looking for a crash course in business. That's the real deal. That's not a bunch of flavor of the month crap that's superficial, that's slanted. You want the actual thing. Get this. The reason I can say that is because basically it's a self-study thing. You get, a reading list, a textbook for each topic, and you can get them for very cheap on Amazon. They're the same books that they use in some of the best MBA programs around the world, including Harvard Business School. They use these books. You're getting the same source of information as they are, that they learn in their program, and I'm the guide. I guide you through it. Okay, so you learn from the books, and I provided many videos that sort of is my take on it, or it's an overview of it, and things like that, right? So some people go very deep, into this, and you can learn everything that you would learn in a full MBA program. Other people, they just kind of skim through it. They get like a sort of general cursory understanding of everything, and they emerge with that. Now, if that's maybe what you're looking for, you're going to get promoted into a management type job, and you haven't had any formal management training, this can really, really help. So something to think about if that's the situation you're in. It's also great for people that have any kind of entrepreneur type flair. Bam Bam says, "Sir, I'm sorry I didn't catch up your answer on my previous question." What was your previous question? Reintegrate into the team and already configured workflow. Oh, I think I missed that. I apologize, Bam Bam. You were surrounded by comments from Call Me Ishmael, and I was following his, I assume it's a he, his story, so I apologize. Bam Bam says, "I'm afraid that I will have to reintegrate into the team and into the already configured workflow. I'm a child educator and also an organizer of medium and large events. My previous job was perfect." Okay. And is it this earlier thing you're talking about? How to unstick myself from only the job searching? I understand that I'm simply scared to get hired. What's up with that? I think I responded to that one. I didn't respond to the last thing, but the last thing is kind of a statement. Was there a question in there? Maybe if you could just type the question you want me to answer, I'll be happy to give it a bash, if you know what I'm saying. Bam Bam. Bam Bam says, yes, correct. Correct to what? That's the problem when we're not communicating in real time, unfortunately. Yeah, just retype your question. I'm sorry, but that's what I need to understand exactly what you want me to answer. There are 32 people here. Thank you for being here. The title of this originally was How to Handle Job Search Stress and Rejection. And like what seems to happen all the time, I sort of get sucked back into talking about the mechanics of the job market and stuff. Not a lot of the psychological component, you know. I just want everybody to know that, you know, you're here, you're engaging in self-improvement. You're awesome, you know. Don't let anybody make you feel otherwise. And you are highly employable. Right now, there is an employer looking for someone with your skills. The only problem is that they're here, where you can see my hand, then you're here, and there's no connection between the two of you. That's the problem, right? It's about trying to find that connection, trying to reach each other, right? And I know for introverts, this is a real challenge for a lot of introverts because they don't understand things like networking or marketing or, you know, sales skills, like how to get the word out, you know? Because that's what this process is. It's the sales process. You're trying to get your message out, right? I'm here. I'm awesome. I do this. I solve this problem. Hire me, you know? So imagine if you could get that message into the hands of the person, like, what was it, over here? And they were here and you were here, right? Imagine if you could get that message into their hands and it fits perfectly with exactly what they're looking for right now. Right? That's all that needs to happen. It's all that you need to do. And there are ways of doing this. Anytime someone promotes a product, anytime someone sells anything, they're doing this. Right? Get in the chat. Let me know if you guys have questions. I see there are 26 people now, so I managed to get a whole bunch of them to leave by saying that. Yeah, you know, take care of your mental health. It's very, very important as you go through this stuff. It's not easy to go through this stuff. We feel, like I've said previously, we feel about this tall when we're going through this process, you know, and we feel like, barring the death of a family member or something, we feel like that we're at the lowest point in our lives at this moment. The good news is that it changes just overnight, suddenly. Bam, it's all over, you know? That's the good news, but it's still not fun to be here. And then on top of that, to add sort of insult to injury, you got to deal with some of the most unprofessional, you know, rude people that you're ever going to encounter, you know? It's almost like they're kicking you when you're down. And that really sucks. That's another unfortunate aspect of this. But just know that you're not alone, okay? There's nothing special about you in that sense. There's many people that have been there before. It goes like that for pretty much everybody, you know? So that's I guess, the good news in the sense that you're not alone. Okay, Brainwasher says, fun fact, I never got a position through a recruiter when applying for jobs. And when hiring managers was the one interviewing, I got in a lot of the time. Yeah, because you're probably more of a technical type person or an introverted type person that you see eye to eye with someone who actually understands the job, right? But you're not going to talk a good game to someone who doesn't know anything about the job and say all the right things. You know, extroverts tend to do better at that, sort of the 30,000 foot view. And they say all the right things. People that are emotionally intelligent also have an advantage in that situation too. They sense kind of intuitively what the recruiter is looking for, right? Bam Bam says, I'm stuck in the constant search for a new job, even though I just need to choose one, excuse me, and get down to business. How to get out of this state? Well, are you getting offers? Good God. I might have to leave soon. I think it's time for some more medication. For my insanity. Not the cold. The cold is okay. I can handle that. Like, I would need to know, like, are you getting offers, or is it just like you just don't know what to apply to, or you feel uninspired with all the choices that are out there, or you know what I mean? Um, yeah, you only need one job. That's the thing. It's not like you're making sales where, you need like more and more and more and more, right? Well, how to get out of the state? Well, you just find a good one, right? That satisfies you is probably the most obvious thing. That's what I would suspect. I'm no psychologist, but that's what I think would end that process. The other thing is that you got to watch your ego. Like it's very tempting and very easy to say like, oh, this job is beneath me. That job is beneath me. And this job is good, but, they don't say that I get my own office. So no, I'm not going to apply or I'm not going to respond. Like just make sure it's none of that stuff going on because that's going to hurt you. And sometimes we have a blind spot for our own ego. So just maybe take a bit of a look at, if you are getting job opportunities, like why you're perhaps turning them down or you're not pursuing them fully. You might want to just buckle down because the only other alternative I see is that then you have to get desperate. If you're not really feeling the pressure to take one of these, there's no urgency or there's not enough urgency, maybe it needs to get worse. Maybe you need to feel more of a financial pressure or something. That's the alternative to you snapping out of this. It seems to me, So I'm not sure, but maybe just examine your decision process of why you would reject something and say to yourself, maybe, listen, okay, with low expectations, I'm going to go to this interview and just, I'm going to try and get it. While I'm there, I'm going to do my best to get it. And then if they offer me something, let's just see, and in the absence of anything else, I might just take it. I mean, hey, it's something in the meantime. And I can always keep looking if it turns out to really be lackluster, Hopefully that maybe strikes a chord. I'm not sure. Joy Rector says, yes, VP looking for PM, like project management level as the industry is close-knit and seeking new field. Department of State. Okay, yeah, I don't know what that is. That's an American thing, I guess. Sub to big primes. Okay, I don't know what that is either. But okay. Well, listen, like you're at the VP level, just tap your network, go and connect with a lot of people in your business and see what they got. You shouldn't have to falsify your title and take a step down, like make it seem like you're lower down than what you are. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to do that. If you're having to do that, either like times are really tough or, you're just not going about it the right way. So, VPs get all kinds of jobs all the time, and that all comes through networking, and it comes through, that interconnected network of those people in that business, in that industry. So go to industry events, find out if these people are all members of a club or something, go to the damn club and start, talking to people, do informational interviews, see where people think the industry is going and all this kind of stuff and go do that kind of thing. And, if it works particularly well with some people, then follow up. Also do the thing where you reach out to organizations all around you. That can still work for, being at the VP level. Or if you have specific aspirations, like to be in a certain position, do like reach out to the organizations like around that or in that like little segment there. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't have to feel unemployable just because you're at the VP level. Like unless something weird is going on with that industry right now, I would have thought that's not that you shouldn't have to resort to that. Brainwasher says, on the topic of rejection, I feel particularly devastated when I feel like my soft skills were tested and they were lacking for the position. Listen, Brainwasher, look, if you're talking about a job interview and you go in there and you're faced with all manner of rude, overly direct, overly abrasive or aggressive people asking you like slightly inappropriate questions very directly, and or just annoying you by being so inhospitable or incompetent, and you can't hide your frustration with it, or you just don't know what to say because you're put on the spot. Maybe you're not accustomed to being asked that before or being told that before. You know what I mean? Like, listen, it's no easy task. Don't feel too bad about yourself. Whether it was intentional or whether it was just these people are just actually that bad, and they're that off-putting. We see all kinds. We see that all the time, so don't feel too bad. You're not the first person to like not handle themselves as well as you feel you would have liked to because they said something totally unexpected to you, or they did something weird that you weren't expecting. You don't understand how it works, or you were put in a new situation before. You didn't know the protocol, right? We live and learn, If every time you learn something, it was accompanied by like 3 days of like cringing and shame and self-loathing because, you're replaying this moment over in your mind and you felt embarrassed, then we never learn anything, It's like, listen, you did fine, you live and learn, and you're probably never going to encounter these people ever again. It doesn't matter. Just learn the lesson, excuse me, and never make that same mistake ever again, and move forward. Sometimes some of these things, it really feels like they were just not meant to be. It might have been a lucky escape. I know a few things that I went to that I was really beating myself up over afterwards because I didn't get. And it turned out to be a lucky escape. It turned out to be like, that would have been a terrible situation. The company went bankrupt 6 months later, or, it turns out that person went to jail or whatever, went to prison for all kinds of crimes and stuff. It's like, it's a lucky escape. So don't sweat it too much, okay? Do the things that we were talking about before to feel better about yourself, like just the physical things. If you're coming home and you're just, you're all upset, it's like, watch your favorite TV show, go play your favorite sport, go, turn up the heat, have a hot bath, have some good food, have a good night's sleep, make yourself feel better. And then don't dwell on it, move forward, you're going to be fine. Life is going to throw a few of those your way. There's going to be more, okay? There's going to be more in the coming years, but it's not a big deal, okay? And you're going to improve, and it's going to teach you stuff on a conscious and unconscious level as you go forward, okay? And it will contribute to you being more savvy and having a thicker skin and being able to cope with any situation you find yourself in. It's going to contribute to that. Okay, so chin up. But listen, like learning soft skills is a good thing. The more you can learn about that stuff the easy way, the further you'll go, The more likable you are to people that you meet, on demand pretty much, the more opportunities will open up before you, So it's always good to learn as much as you can about that stuff. Call Me Ishmael says, have a good one, and thanks for the feedback. You're welcome. Bam Bam, everything that you just mentioned is happening. Okay, I'm stuck in a constant job. Need to choose going. Okay, so like all those different scenarios of why you're not taking the job. Thank you. You're very helpful. Okay, great. I'm glad. Joy Rector, thank you. Will do with much interest from colleagues. I'll do more. Okay, now Joy Rector, you're the VP level. Yeah, like listen. If you're looking for a job, usually the best thing is to like just do everything. Like don't just do one thing, do a couple of things. So if you feel that like you want to try and look for a project manager position, and try and position yourself as being fully qualified for that so it looks obvious. I'm not telling you not to do that. I mean, you can do that if that's what your gut is. See how it works out. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that, also try stuff that would be more accurate. Like if you're a VP, You shouldn't have to falsify your previous title or say you were some other position to get a job. Just do that too. You know what I mean? You can do both. It's possible to do both. Even when, you wonder, like, what do I put on my LinkedIn profile? It's like, you can find something that like works for both, right? It is possible, putting a bit of thought in to do this stuff, right? And get yourself some business cards if you don't have some already. They say VP on it, and you go and you have some networking meetings, or do like all the networking stuff where you just send out messages, but you're also doing informational interviews, and you're even going to events and things. You're doing all of that, right? And then whichever one bears fruit first, that's the one you focus on. Awesome. So there are 31 people here. Thank you for being here. I'm probably going to wrap this up in the next minute or two. If you have any last questions, get in the chat right now and ask them. In the meantime, as always, check out these courses if they can help you. If you're wondering about how to get hired, if you're wondering about the networking thing that I mentioned several times today, I've put all of that into this course. So there's a link in the description. Check that out. If that can help you, obviously I recommend it. That's where I put all my advice, all structured correctly with templates and processes and all this kind of stuff. I talked about this one before. If you want to learn business, check that out. Even if you want just sort of a cursory overview of it, it's a great way to learn business. And if you're looking to improve your soft skills, your communication skills in particular, check that out. If you're going for a promotion into management, this is pretty much, in my experience, it's the communication skills you need to make yourself a contender for management type roles, especially like mid-management and up, right? You can't just be a technical person and that's all you need to know to go all the way up to the VP level. There's a lot of stuff you got to tack on, and it's all in the area of soft skills, or a lot of it is. There's other things too. You need to understand money. If you're going to be a general manager, you need to understand people. So you tack those on. This, by the way, that'll help you with understanding money. That's for sure. But there you go. So check those out if those are useful for what would help you right now. If you are experiencing any serious mental health issues that revolve around rejection and, the desperation of finding a job and stuff like that, if you can, seek professional help. If you're in that place and it's really getting to be a major problem, most people, you're going to feel anxiety. It's normal. It doesn't feel good, but it's normal for the situation. The great thing is that it can end overnight. It just ends one day, bam, it's all over, and just remember, don't let these people convince you in some way that you're unemployable or that you don't have any value, because you do. I can see you people writing in. I know. I can just way you string sentences together. You know how to write. You know how to organize your thoughts. As I've said, if you can dig a hole and fill it in, you have value. You know what I mean? And there's somebody out there looking for someone like you right now. It's just a matter of connecting with them. That's the only challenge. Anyway, I'm here every couple of days. I do these live streams. I'll be doing another episode of Honest HR Nitrous on Friday. It'll be at noon Central Time in North America, so whatever time zone that works out for you. It'll show you the correct time on my YouTube channel. But I'll be back on Friday. Until then, I wish you all the best of luck. Don't sweat it. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. It's just a process of self-improvement. And you're awesome. I will see you on Friday. Take care.